Hello, everybody. Have you ever had this problem when you don't feel like you deserve the things you have, or maybe you're not good enough for the task you've been entrusted with, or maybe you're just not the right person for the things God is calling you to do? Well, I certainly have, and if that's the case for you, you're in the right place. But before going into the topic of our video, I want to emphasize that I'm not trying to be a teacher or to pretend to be the wise preacher here. I'm just trying to learn alongside with you. Now let's get to the video. Imposter syndrome, haha, among us, is a psychological phenomenon in which a person struggles with deep insecurity about their own abilities, achievements, and success. Of course, this cannot be a good thing, right? Self-doubt on this level just stops us from growing and even enjoying the fruits of our labor that we have already accomplished, and that is really bad. And for Christians, I believe this syndrome might be even more common and acute than for non-believers. Why, you may ask? Well, let me explain. We as Christians, and I assume that most of you watching this are Christians, we don't just have a hobby and a job, right? We have a thing that is called a calling from God. Our lives revolve around that a lot. For non-believers, it is usually enough to be successful at work to feel satisfied. If not, add a good hobby to that and maybe a nice family and you're good. But for Christians, it's not. And when talking about non-believers, I'm not saying that it is bad to be satisfied with having a good job and a good family. I'm just saying that it is enough for those people to be content with what you have. And that's expectedly so. But for us as Christians, it's not. So naturally, when we take over a certain ministry and try to do certain things in church, after facing a little bit of criticism or a small failure, we may have certain thoughts form in our heads. What kind of thoughts? Well, maybe just not for me. I'm not the right person to work with kids, even though I'm the only person that can do that in this church. Why should I be doing this? Maybe I'm just not the person to do it, and so on and so forth. Now, let me ask you this. Do you think these thoughts come from God? Well, of course not. So what should we do with them? It's easy to say, oh, just stop thinking that, just get to the task and do what you're called to do. But we have to understand that a mere appearance of those thoughts is not bad in its nature, and it's okay for us to feel this way sometimes. And it doesn't mean that we are immature or weak or not spiritual enough. You know, how some people tend to say. Let's turn to the Bible and read several verses, and I want you to pay attention to the feeling that is the key theme of these verses. This will be found in Exodus 3:10-11 and Exodus 4:1, 10, and 13. Now go, for I am sending you to Pharaoh. You must lead my people Israel out of Egypt. But Moses protested to God, who am I to appear before Pharaoh? Who am I to lead the people of Israel out of Egypt? But Moses protested again. What if they won't believe me or listen to me? What if they say, the Lord never appeared to you? But Moses pleaded with the Lord. O Lord, I am not very good with words. I never have been, and I am not now, even though you have spoken to me. I get tongue-tied, and my words get tangled. But Moses again pleaded, Lord, please send anyone else. Well, what is this feeling? This feeling is insecurity or self-doubt or whatever you may call it. And we can see that Moses, this great man of God who led Israel out of the slavery of Egypt, he had those thoughts, just like we do sometimes. Now, let me ask you one more question. Was he the right person to do what God asked him to do in the end? Well, of course, yes, we can see that if we read further. And even in the matter of public speaking, about which Moses was so insecure, we can see that later in the story, he not only just becomes a great public speaker, he becomes the leader of the whole nation. He becomes the judge for the nation. He becomes the mediator between God and his people, and he is acting as the person who is telling them the laws from the God. And he even pleads to God on multiple occasions and asks him to forgive his people on multiple occasions. So at first he was afraid to speak to Pharaoh, who by the way is acting as a false god to Israelites when they are in Egypt, to then speaking and pleading with the real God who was performing all of those miracles for them. Let me repeat that one more time. He went from being afraid to open his mouth in front of a false god, Pharaoh, to pleading with the real living God. Isn't that amazing? Let's read another passage. It can be found in 1 Corinthians, 1st chapter, 26 through 31. Remember, dear brothers and sisters, that few of you were wise in the world's eyes, or powerful, or wealthy when God called you. Instead, God chose things the world considers foolish in order to shame those who think they are wise. And he chose things that are powerless to shame those who are powerful. God chose things despised by the world, things counted as nothing at all, and used them to bring to nothing what the world considers important. As a result, no one can ever boast in the presence of God. God has united you with Christ Jesus. For our benefit, God made him to be wisdom itself. Christ made us right with God. He made us pure and holy, and he freed us from sin. Therefore, as the scriptures say, if you want to boast, boast only about the Lord. I think that is a really powerful message. From it we can understand that God looks at us differently. He sees our hearts rather than our physical appearance, or maybe some issues that we have with our health, or as Moses had with his tongue, or anything else. He looks at our heart, and he knows what every one of us is capable of, and he values everybody. There is this really interesting verse that I really like. It is Psalm 61, 2-3, and it sounds like this: Lead me to the rock that is higher than I, for you have been my refuge, a strong tower against the enemy. So, not only should we not fear our calling, not fear of being not enough, we should also aim higher. Lead me to the rock that is higher than I. And this is a completely opposite approach from what we have been discussing in the beginning, right? Instead of trying to hide from the things God is calling us to do, and instead of fearing some tasks and thinking that we might not be enough for them, we should keep aiming higher. We should find things that are challenging but need to be done. Doubting yourself is completely fine. I mean, if it doesn't stop you from doing what you do. Just like Moses. He doubted himself, but in the end he did what God called him to do. If it doesn't work out, pray and ask him for wisdom and for his help. But if it does work out, then what? Don't boast about your success. Boast about God, who helped you to achieve it, because everything is for him and through him. That's it for today. And thank you so much for watching and for staying till the end. And if God touches even one heart out there through these videos, I'll be infinitely happy. I will see you in the next one.